You don't have to go all in the first time you start journaling. You don't even need to go all in if you are a seasoned journaler. Hi, hello, it's 𝚗𝚘𝚘𝚢, and we are in a new section of my room. We are at my bed because I really didn't want to get out of it today. However, I knew I was going to do a video today, so what better way to do this is to just throw my hair into a messy puff, sit on my bed, stay in my nightgown, and do a video. So as always, I have my notes, so if you see me looking down, it is just so I can stay on topic, and let's get into it. So today is going to be all about removing the rules and the pressures that I think people put on themselves when they're trying to get into this hobby. And specifically, we're going to be focusing on the hobby instead of focusing on the outcome and how we can go about achieving that as we journal. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, number one might be a little bit controversial, but you do not need to start by journaling every single day. And I don't just mean daily journaling, I mean daily journaling. If you're creative journaling, scrapbooking, junk journaling, bullet journaling, you have a media journal, whatever type of journal you have, I think the first thought process we have is that we need to journal every single day. But quite honestly, there's a few things that happen if you go into that mindset. And the first thing it does is it burns you out. Even for seasoned hobbyists, it can be very, very hard to do stuff every single day because you will burn yourself out. And what ends up happening when you burn yourself out is that you're going about it like you're a machine. You know, you're on an industry line, and every single day you are trying to achieve this goal of somehow being, I guess, good at your hobby or great at your hobby, or really going full steam ahead, that before you can really get into enjoying the hobby, you end up burning yourself out and thinking, oh, you know what? I don't like this. Maybe this was not the right hobby for me, which is a problem because you just probably bought a bunch of stuff for this hobby and now you just wasted your money and your time. Which leads me to the next thing that it does, and that is you feel guilty because you have wasted resources, time, and money on said hobby. All of which kind of stems from this level of perfectionism. We feel like in order to be a hobbyist, that we have to kind of treat it like a job and we have to go to it every day. When in actuality, you don't really need to do that. It's a hobby for a reason. Now, unless you monetize your hobby, that's a totally different conversation. But if we're just sitting here chilling, we're supposed to have a nice little fun time, supposed to relax, honey, you're not relaxing, you're driving yourself crazy. This is exceptionally prominent when we're doing anything that involves introspective habits, such as, diving deep into our feelings and doing daily journals or really trying to understand ourselves. We end up feeling like in order to be introspective, to really dive deep into ourselves, that we do need to do this every single day. And we end up, again, being this machine that just never stops. Think about your first day on a job. If it's your first day and you're just starting out a job, what are you doing that day? You're familiarizing yourself with everything. You're learning the ways about the office. You're, getting adjusted to your cubicle, or maybe you're a teacher and you're learning your students. Whatever the job is, you kind of have to familiarize yourself with it. If you don't, you're kind of just pushing through and you don't know the ways of this office. You could be a teacher, but the first school you taught at isn't going to be the same as the next school, just as much as in that same school, your next set of students will not be like the last one. So this is your hobby. Why do you think you have to immediately be a perfectionist at everything? Why do you think you need to be a vet at knitting? You just started. And knitting is hard. So before you jump full steam ahead, familiarize yourself with what you're doing. If you're getting into crocheting, slow down. Do research about crocheting. Watch tutorials about crocheting. If you're getting into journaling, watch videos. Learn about all types of journal products. Do your research first. And I don't mean to make hobbies sound like a task, but it is a task, literally. So take your time. Okay, so the second thing you are doing is you are relying heavily on toxic productivity. Now, I think this kind of stems from the idea that the more we optimize, the more we get done. So in terms of, for example, habit stacking, you may be on your treadmill, walking on your treadmill. And while you're on your treadmill, you're also looking at your iPad and you are listing everything you need to do for the rest of the week. And while you're doing that, you have another tab open and you're listing all of the meals you're going to eat for the rest of the week. Listen, I am not the person who should be doing those type of things because I am terrible at multitasking. But The problem with this, where your hobby is concerned, is that you're actually optimizing your time for something that does not need to be optimized. Now, I'm not saying that you don't need to optimize your time, because I do understand everyone's busy and we do not all have time to sit down and journal, sit down and crochet, sit down and color, sit down and take pictures, or whatever your hobby is. But when I say optimizing every moment, I actually mean striving to get everything into one perfect picture. For example, skipping days of whatever your hobby is and then feeling super guilty about a hobby when it doesn't matter what day you do it. As well as treating finishing whatever project you're doing as some form of measuring your success and how well you are at this hobby. And this could look like a couple of things. For example, if you like to scrapbook and you feel like every moment of your life has to be documented, that is optimizing and measuring up everything you're doing when you really don't need to do that. For example, if you're going out for pizza and you forgot to take a sticker off of a box, and you forgot the menu, but you really love the pizza, and maybe you will never get to go to this pizza shop again. You feel guilty and you feel bad because you just missed the opportunity to make this perfect spread. And then you have to ask yourself, are you making the perfect spread for you? Or are you making the perfect spread to then go put on social media and be like, oh, look, I made this really cute spread? When in actuality, you don't really need a billion things from that said place to make a spread about it. Sure, you aren't getting the cute sticker that came with your sandwich, or you're not getting the paper off of the cup that you use and stuff like that, or the napkin that's branded that you can put in your journals, but you can still do a lot of things without those. So if you junk journal, if you creative journal, if you scrapbook, and you feel like every moment of your life needs to be tracked to make this journal, to make this page gorgeous, then you're taking the fun out of everything. There is so many times where I'm just in the moment with my family or my friends and I totally forget to film. I totally forget to take something from it. I went and I helped my friend set up for this 𝚗�3 event here in Houston, and I got some footage, and I go back and forth between whether I want to post it or not. But then I go back and I'm thinking, do I really want to post this? Because I just enjoyed my time with her and there's not that much footage because I was enjoying it. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, dang, that would have been so good for my vlogs. But at the end of the day, it's no big deal. And I was really bumming myself out because I'm like, everything is content. Everything is content. No, it is not. In fact, that is so, so stupid to say, because girl, everything is not content. Don't nobody care. I promise. There are some things people do care about and other things people don't. Y'all gonna be all right. You don't need to see me setting up my friends' 800 sticker stands. Like, maybe you want to, but I've posted about it before, and maybe in the future I will post those videos. But for right now, I'm not gonna stress myself out about it. So neither should you. So what? You didn't remember to get a, I don't know, movie stub because you got a movie ticket on your phone and now you don't have a movie stub. I'm sorry, friends, my timer went off. Anyway, what I was saying was, maybe you downloaded a movie ticket, but the movie ticket was on your phone, so now you don't have a way to put it in your journal. Girl, if you don't screenshot that photo and then print it, it's no big deal. And if you don't have a printer, draw a fake movie ticket on your page. And if you suck at drawing, just write. Don't do any drawings or nothing, no stickers or anything. Or don't talk about it at all. Another aspect of this is thinking that you need all the right tools for said hobby. Now, I know I'm talking about journaling, but this can go for anything. My mom is the yarn queen. I talk about her a lot because I feel like she influences a lot of these videos, but she is the yarn queen. You open her closet and there's all this yarn. And the thing about my mom is she's having like hand troubles from her years of working, and she really can't crochet because of it. And every time I go to her closet, I'm just like, what are you gonna do with all this yarn? Because every time we go to Michael's, you buy yarn that you're never going to use. And she's always like, well, eventually when my hand's better, I will use it. And I said, okay, but stop buying yarn. What do you need more yarn for? And then she says, what if they never have this color again? What if they don't have this again? And I'm just saying in my head, you are acting like the world is ending, girl. You can get yarn. It's okay. Michael's ain't going nowhere for now. You can always go back for some yarn. And if not, I'm sure some small shop has yarn. Or she'll do something like text me a screenshot of these crochet hooks that are really cute and nice, and people rave about them. And I'm like, you have a whole set of crochet hooks, like different sizes and stuff too. What do you need another one for? And she's thinking, well, maybe this will be easier. I said, the problem is your hand, not these hooks. Please stop buying hooks. Let me call out myself, or I'll sit here and think, oh, you know what? I know why I'm not journaling. I just need a new pen. That's what it is. I need a new pen. No, I don't. I don't need a new pen. I have pens all over my room. I don't need it. And granted, do some pens write better? Absolutely. Do I always want to use some whack pen that I probably had since 2004? No, but if it works, and it saves me a lot of money. And a lot of times we put so much emphasis on the tools for our hobby that we end up completely ignoring the hobby and buying a whole bunch of stuff for it. It's me. I'm the one who does that. The next thing this could be is you letting online journals influence you. For example, you get online, you get on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, whatever, and you see someone's spread and you're like, I love that. I want to try that. And it's like a repeated cycle. You try it, you probably fail because the likelihood of you 100% getting what they did is very unlikely, but you try and you fail. You are upset. You tell yourself, you know what? Why am I even trying? It doesn't look like this, so I'm not going to do it anymore. And then that want to journal, that want to crochet, that want to knit, that want to use a coloring book goes out the window because you're looking at people online who have probably been doing this forever or who just, I'm sorry, are just good at it. Okay? Are just good at crocheting, little plushies, are just good at knitting, can knit a baby scarf in like 2 seconds. Some people can just do that. But listen, I say this in almost every one of my videos. Every one of you are not meant to be an expert at one thing. You're just not, okay? I would love to be a pop star. No, I wouldn't. I have stage fright. But you know what? In theory, I would love to be a pop star. Like, would I love to be Hannah Montana? Sure. But I can't sing. I could not hum the national anthem. But is it kind of cool to think about? Sure. But I can't be Beyonce. Beyonce is Beyonce. And that's how that is. You don't need to be Picasso to want to take a painting class. Okay? It's okay to just be kind of mediocre at stuff. All in all, what you end up doing instead of focusing on the journey of whatever hobby you're doing, you end up kind of focusing on the end result, what you're able to get out of it in terms of aesthetics, instead of in terms of creativity, mindfulness, or personal growth, whatever you're using your hobby for. You're throwing all that out the window and focusing on aesthetics. You're focusing on what people think, what other people do. And that's why I wholeheartedly believe if you do post your journals online, that's great. But I do think there should be some journals you don't post online. I have journals that you guys see 24/7 and 9 times out of 10, it doesn't mean anything to me to show you. But there are journals in that 10% that you guys don't get to see. Like you may see a journal in my videos that I have out, but you never see me feature because some things are okay to be just yours. So that being said, we now have to kind of get to the point where we figure out how to fix these issues within whatever your little niche hobby is. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to keep journaling as flexible as possible. So that means you do not need to journal every day, crochet every day, knit every day, color every day, paint every day, just because you're in the honeymoon phase of whatever hobby you're trying out. And yes, I think there's a honeymoon phase for hobbies. There's a honeymoon phase for everything. There could be a honeymoon phase for jobs, for your relationships, for your hobbies, for honestly anything. I was in the honeymoon phase with everything in the back of me. At one point, I thought everything on my wall was just, the bee's knees. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, girl, why it look like that? I don't like it. I don't know. And I have to stop myself from changing it every single day because I'm out of the honeymoon phase of it. Now I'm kind of just thinking, my room is a hot mess. So you can be in a honeymoon phase of anything. And so if you're in the honeymoon phase of your hobby, don't go all in. I know it feels good to run to Vegas and go ahead and get married, but don't. You don't need to do that, okay? You are not Belly and Jeremiah. We are not getting married young. We are going to sit down, learn our craft, and we are going to take our time. And then, after taking our time, we may realize that we don't like it. Or we may realize that there's a better hobby out there for us. So slow down, keep an open mind, and work your way up to a steady schedule. The next thing is you're going to start only journaling or doing your hobby when inspiration hits. Only if you find journaling consistently very daunting. So I know someone's gonna dislike this advice, but hear me out, okay? Inspiration will not always hit you, okay? Honestly, if I had to think about it, I think inspiration for a journal hits me maybe once a month, okay? But I just feel like if you're finding something very, very daunting and overwhelming, don't make it your go-to hobby. If you want to get into junk journaling, but you don't go nowhere, you don't think you have anything to journal about, okay, fine, whatever. Maybe you really don't have anything to journal about. Maybe you don't have anywhere to go to junk journal. That's fine. Then make a junk journal be your monthly journal or your bi-monthly journal. Maybe you'll only update it every few months when you actually do something. That's kind of cool if you ask me. I have a journal that was my Moleskine, my little pocket one I talk about all the time, that I started a couple of years back on my birthday, and I only use it, I swear, every 4 months. I'm not joking. Every 4 months. That's why it's still not done. But the thing is, there's no rule saying that you have to use it every single day. So whenever I feel the want or the inspiration to use that little journal, that little Moleskine, I will go use it. But then when I don't have the inspiration to do it, when I don't feel like doing it, I just don't. And I'm not going to lie to you, I think I update that journal 3 times a year. So when inspiration strikes, then go ahead and do whatever your hobby is. But for this one, it's journaling. I'm going to say this next part with this in my face because I have no idea what I wrote. It says, oh, okay, I think I understand the first part of it. It's a piggyback on the last one, and it says, journal when inspiration strikes if you find daily journaling daunting, or set flexible intentions. You can either do weekly, monthly check-ins with little notes on your phone, rapid fire thoughts, or even brain dumps. Anything that gets you out of, what did I say? Oh, anything that gets you out of strict rules you set for yourself. That was a good one if I could read my own handwriting. So basically, if I sounded too robotic reading that, set goals for yourself. Little goals though. You know, maybe you carry your phone everywhere with you, or your iPod, whatever, your iPad, your Microsoft Pad, whatever you have on you, and little notes here and there, okay? Maybe you go to Subway and you get a little thought process in your head and you want to write a few things down. Open your phone and go to your notes app and type those out. Then maybe you can transfer it to your journal later. Try brain dumping, or like a stream of consciousness where you're just kind of word vomiting on a page. I don't care if you are listening to old Disney music, okay? If you are listening to Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, write the lyrics to Everybody Wants to Be a Cat. It's okay. It's your journal. Because maybe after you write those down, you'll have inspiration to write something else. All in all, this is just to get you out of this mindset that everything has to be structured. Now, if you're like me, maybe you need structure, and that's great. But for those of you who are just giving yourself a little bit too much structure, we're going to pull back a little bit. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of structure, but not too much. The next thing we're going to do to keep journaling flexible is we're going to look at those mess ups, because we all have them, okay? I don't care how long you've been doing it. We're going to look at those journal mess ups or crochet mess ups, whatever your hobby is. We're going to look at those mess ups as authentic pieces of work instead of imperfections. That means every time you're crocheting, and I don't really crochet that often, but I don't know, you mess up a granny square, you're just going to take a deep breath and you're either going to unravel it or you're going to keep it pushing, and the pattern's going to be wonky. Every time you have to scribble scratch and you're using ink because you misspelled a word or you weren't paying attention and you might have been humming a song and you ended up writing the lyrics instead of your thoughts, you're going to ignore it. You're going to be like, you know what? Maybe in a year from now, I'll look at that coffee stain and laugh, which has happened to me because in one of my journals that I took to Honey Art Cafe, I spilled boba on it. And every time I look at it, I remember spilling boba on it and the 5 other pages that it soaked through, because that is a memory. It's a memory. It is me low-key scrapbooking on accident. So mess ups are authentic, not imperfections. And lastly, we are going to remind ourselves that your journal is your safe space. It is your place for peace. It is your place for fun and creativity, personal growth. It is not a place for external validation. Okay? Say that with me one more time. It is not a place for external validation. I have not actively been using TikTok in a very long time. I know it was giving me a little bit of coin here and there, but when it got to the point that I was looking at people's journals and I was thinking in my head, why do people follow me? Why do they want my advice on my journals? I took a step back. I was thinking in my head, girl, who cares? Okay, honestly, who cares? Maybe they like it. Maybe they hate it. There's always some funny style comment somewhere from somebody. It's either, oh, finally, someone who doesn't just put stickers in their journals, or it's, this isn't journaling, this is scrapbooking because I put a picture next to a few words and the picture is a Tumblr picture. Ugh, whatever. That external validation, we're kicking that to the curb and we're leaving that in early August, early 2025, and we're not bringing it to the rest of 2025. Okay, cool. And the last tip we're going to do is we're going to reframe our thinking. Firstly, we're going to remind ourselves that journaling is a sense of fun. It is a sense of personal growth. It is a sense of creativity. It is not some form of measurable insurance, okay? You cannot look at your journal and think to yourself, this proves that I have a high performance rate, that I am so good at this, that I am so great at this, that I'm the best at this. You will not be valedictorian of crocheting, babe. No one cares. Unless you're trying to monetize your hobby, babe, no one cares. I promise you. Even the people who give you praise on social media eventually go on with their lives and don't think about you. I promise you have to start thinking to yourself, I am not that important. And I don't mean you're not important as a person. I mean, we have a big world and your one little journal is not that important. Okay? It's only important to you. And that's how it should be. Are people enjoying seeing it? Sure. Are people getting inspiration? Sure. But it's not something that you're going to look back on your life and go, oh, everyone loved my journal. Everyone was following me on TikTok. Who cares? Who cares if everyone followed you on TikTok because of your journals if you don't even like your journals yourself, or if you're too busy copying what you saw on TikTok or YouTube to even enjoy your journal? The journal is not yours, babe. You just went and saw 80 other people have the same journal and then you copied it. That is not authentic. That is you measuring yourself up to somebody else. I am sorry. That might have been a little mean, but just think of me as your mean or little big sister. Okay? If I'm younger than you, then I'm your little big sister today. Okay? If I'm older than you, I'm just a regular big sister. And I'm going to be a little mean. Nobody cares. The only person that should care is you. Only person's opinion who should matter is you. Because if you focus on your own opinion, then everybody else's opinion will go out the window. Honestly, who cares? Let yourself be messy. Okay, that's the next one. Let yourself write messy. Let yourself scratch stuff out. Let your handwriting change on the same page like mine does. People say they love my handwriting, and I'll look at it like I'm looking at it right now, and I'm thinking in my head, I hope I never want to reread these because I will never understand what they say. And the next thing is we're going to focus on intent and not the output. In other words, intent is your why, and output is how it looks. I have a lot of journal pages that I think are hideous. Absolutely hideous. And then I read the journal page and I'm thinking, aw, but that's kind of cute. I can think of a billion of them. One of them, we took my godson to the beach for the first time. And I think I always go back to this one in videos where I talk about spreads I hate and the spread is hideous. Like, it's ugly. It's just, I mean, I'm sure a toddler could make a better scrapbook page than this one. But when I read about it, when I read all of his feelings about touching sand for the first time and his little hat that he had on, it warms my heart. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, is it cute? No. But again, it doesn't matter if someone else thinks it's cute. No, I'm not winning a prize. Again, I'm not going to be valedictorian of scrapbooking. It's no big deal. When in doubt, think of it like this. And I have to remind myself this all the time. I'd rather have a messy scrapbook that has hundreds of pages of just chaotic memories and spreads than to be in my 60s and 70s looking back at my life and going, which sibling did I go see the Nutcracker with? Was it my sister or my brother? Because I gave up on scrapbooking. I gave up on journaling about it, all because I was so focused on aesthetics. I was so focused on toxic productivity. I was so focused on being the best at something that truly nobody cares about. But instead, you may have a bunch of chaotic memories and they may be messy and not what aesthetically is popular right now on social media. But are you really going to look back years from now and say, I'm really glad I didn't archive this memory. I didn't archive this time in my life? I bet you will not. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do to reframe our mindset is we're going to limit the need to compare. So what does that mean? But we're going to focus on them as for what they are. And that is they are a source of inspiration and they are not the standard, because what, kids? There is no standard. There are no rules. There are none, okay? Unless, you're playing tennis, then yes, there are rules. But honey, there are no rules to journaling. Okay, so that is all the tips I got for you today. If you resonated with anything, tell me down below. If you have any tips yourself, also leave them down below. And if you managed to watch this far, send me a frog emoji, okay? Yeah, a frog emoji because of Tiana. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go check out some of my other videos. So until next time, peace out, Girl Scouts. 'Cause I really hate you. 'Cause you made me so blue.